Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Human Nature and the Family of Blood, episodes 8 and 9 from series 3, based on the novel by Paul Cornell. I've got the History Collection edition from 2015? 15 or 14? 15. It was the Monster Collection that came out in 2014, the History one in 15, and the 50th Anniversary Collection in 2013. So, Human Nature by Paul Cornell was the original novel from the mid-90s, 95 did it just say? 1995, featuring the Seventh Doctor and Bernie Summerfield as the Seventh Doctor takes the guise of Dr. John Smith, as it says on the back, a teacher at a school. Does it say it was history? Or it's a different school to what we get in the episodes. There might be a history teacher, and Bernie Summerfield is helping him, probably as his maid. And this story, from this novel, is they're hiding from the Family of Blood, who want to take the Doctor's life, probably. Haven't read the novel yet. But the story of the novel became the two-part story, Human Nature and the Family of Blood, in 2007 as the 8th and ninth episodes of Series 3, which is the second series of David Tennant's 10th Doctor series. In fact, on the book, it even mentions an adventure set in Britain on the eve of the First World War, featuring the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, and his companion Bernie Summerfield, who, by the way, Big Finish fans will be more than familiar aware of, as will Virgin New Adventure book fans. This book was the basis for the 10th Doctor television story Human Nature / The Family of Blood, starring David Tennant. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Human Nature and the Family of Blood, the series 3 two-part story. The plot of this one sees the 10th Doctor having to turn himself human so that he can escape from the Family of Blood, who want a Time Lord's life for them to continue existing beyond a 3-month beyond 3 more months before they die, and they want the Time Lord essence, and then they will go on to cause trouble throughout the universe. So the Doctor decides to turn himself human and leaves himself messages and instructions for Martha to follow, and she pretends to be John Smith, the human. The Doctor turns into his maid, and Smith becomes a teacher at this school, Framlingham. Not Framlingham as in Suffolk. Framlingham, it's a different spelling. So it's a different school to the one in the book, according to the back anyway. Not sure if it's Norfolk, but it's definitely not Holton College. So the Doctor, this John Smith, is now a history teacher for a few months there, and Martha his maid. However, when the Doctor got his plan, he didn't factor into falling in love, and over the course of the two-parter, John Smith falls in love with matron Joan Redfern, the matron of the school, and at the same time, one of the pupils, Tim Latimer, seems to be psychic in a way, accidentally. He doesn't know how, but he can just guess things, and he's just right. And when he gets the fob watch that the Doctor's essence has been kept in, that John Smith has, he's able to listen to the Doctor, and he's follows the watch's instructions from the voices inside to keep the watch safe from the Family of Blood, who, after 2 months, are able to track down Smith and Martha and land in a field. And one by one, they take bodies for them to host. Son of Mine is first and takes the form of Baines, one of the pupils at the school. He's followed by Father of Mine, who takes the form of a local farmer, and Daughter of Mine, who takes the form of a little girl from the village. Finally, one of the maids from the school, who's a friend of Martha's, Jenny, has her body taken by Mother of Mine, and together they set out to find the Doctor's essence in order for themselves to continue their lives. And after discovering Smith was the Doctor and trying to find his essence, they eventually go to war against the school and the village in order to try and get what they want. And it's up to Smith to decide whether he needs to turn back to being the Doctor or stay as he was and just give them the watch. So yeah, this is a great two-part story. I think for me, before this watching, I liked it, but I thought it was good. I wasn't as fond of it as everybody else is. I didn't think it was that. I thought it was a bit. I thought it was really good, but not that as fantastic as everybody else was saying. Although, whilst thinking about it, this is a 5, 6, 7 year old thought thing when I was at high school. I'm not sure which year, 9, 10, or 11. Year 9, 10, 11, which would be 5, 6, 7 years ago. Well, which would be 7, 6, and 5 years ago, respectively. I just thought maybe on reflection, it's a really good story. And now we come to this rewatch for this review, and I have to say it is a fantastic story. This is a really, really great story. The story around um, Smith's life as a normal human, but then having to face the fact that his dreams, his visions he's got are not dreams. They're flashbacks to what the Doctor's life was, and that's done really well. And also, like the Journal of Impossible Things, they shows Joan. Those are really great and some really great stuff. Also, it makes the TV movie officially canon in the new series. Canon. If you didn't consider the TV movie canon by the time Series 1 started, you have to consider it canon now. And um, the first time we sort of see previous Doctors in the Doctor universe with faces of the Doctor. Although there's one picture that might be the Ninth Doctor, I'm not incredibly certain. But you know, the Journal of Impossible Things is really great, and it's really interesting. The Fob Watch is also a really great idea with the Time Lord essence and the Chameleon Arch and everything. I don't know if I thought it was stated that it could only be used once by a Time Lord in this story or in Utopia later down the line, but I might be wrong, especially now after Fugitive of the Judoon, where the Doctor supposedly has used the Chameleon Arch before or after this adventure, and who knows, maybe other Time Lords have used it more than once. I thought it had been a once use only, but after watching Fugitive of the Judoon and after watching this story again, there was actually no mention of saying it's a one-off time only. So I guess it's not a one-off time only, although I don't think any Time Lord would actually want to use it at all, let alone more than once. So, yeah, well, but yeah, it's a really great concept and really greatly done. And Martha having to keep all of this secret and not actually and pretend it's all fantasies and stuff, whilst also checking in on the TARDIS and everything. It's all really great stuff. There's also a fun deleted scene from the first time in the episode. We see Martha going to the TARDIS where the Doctor's telling her not to eat pears. That's a fun deleted scene. For some reason it gets brought up in Twice Upon a Time, even though the scene was cut. It's about eating pears, and you do see John Smith eating a pear in the actual episode. But the deleted scene and some alternative takes for having the Doctor say, "Don't let him eat pears," for some reason, and for some reason that got referenced in Twice Upon a Time. If it was in the episode, it would make sense for it to be brought back up 10 years later. But it wasn't in the episode, so I don't know why Capaldi's referencing it in Twice Upon a Time. That's like acknowledging the Journey's End deleted scene where the Sidemen got inside the TARDIS and saying, "Oh, the Sidemen got into the TARDIS a couple times in my 5th incarnation, in my 6th incarnation. There was this one time where 2 of them popped up in the TARDIS when I was in my 10th incarnation after I fought Davros and the Daleks." That would be a weird reference. I'm actually half wanting them to do that now. No, that's half wanting. Okay, so back to the plot. But yeah, this Human Nature is doing some really great stuff. There's a few slightly hokey cinematography and editing, cutting back and forth in the first scene, but it's not too bad. It's handled well enough, and the direction in the story and the cinematography and editing is really great for the most part. So I think it's just that first little bit that I have a bit of a worry about. And one bit where there's a pan from that one of those funny pan ones where it's quick pans. It's not a blur; it just quick pans and then we cut halfway through it. So if you either commit to all of doing it as a whole way or don't bother. But it's looking a bit less problematic now. There's a similar one in Blink where it doesn't cut halfway through. It does an actual proper transition, but it doesn't look that hokey. It actually looks pretty decent in Blink. Anyway, but Human Nature, the first episode, is a really great story, seeing John Smith living out his life, falling in love with Nurse Redfern, and Martha trying to keep him on track, whilst the Family of Blood get their bodies, as well as also an addition according to Paul Cornell that he added for the TV story version, whilst the Scarecrows, for the Family of Blood to have an army. I also like how the school is set up and the schoolboys and characters are set up, and the way that they've set up the school being an army thing as A, what they have to do in the next episode, Family of Blood, and B, what's going to happen the following year. This story is set in 1913. I'll let that sink in with you, considering what happens the following year in history. Whilst that, we're also exploring John and Jane's relationship a bit more as it's developing as well in response to that. And yeah, I think it's just handled really, really well in the plot, and ultimately comes together really well in a great confrontation at the village dance in the village hall. A really great cliffhanger as well, as this time the Doctor's not going to be able to come and save the day because the Doctor's gone at the moment. You've got John Smith for these 2 weeks, people, and he has to decide whether he wants to save Martha or Joan. Or completely give himself up to save both of them, but he doesn't know what they're talking about. He still thinks he's human. Everything's going a bit mad. I mean, this cliffhanger would be a dilemma for the Doctor anyway, but I don't think he would hesitate to save Martha or Joan. But this time, John Smith has no idea what to do, so he's not going to be able to save the day. And the resolution of the cliffhanger is actually done well, as another hero of the story, Tim Latimer, comes to save the day. Actually, kind of does help. The Doctor does kind of help there, but the Doctor inside the watch. But it's Tim Latimer who has to open the watch, and then Martha is able to get the upper hand on Mother of Mine. And here we go into Family of Blood. This episode is even better, I think, than Human Nature. I think this one is a fantastic episode. This one delved more into John Smith not certain whether he wants to become the Doctor again, because he's worried that he's going to die, he's going to lose his own life, he's getting upset about that, he wants his own normal life, and to be with Joan. He's they've come very close, obviously, over the 2 episodes. And in the meantime, the Family of Blood and the Scarecrows attempt an attack at Framlingham School, and the boys have to fight against those. Ultimately, they're all really scary. I like how they're putting the fear into the boys, especially Hutchinson, the school head of house, and a bit of a bully. Well, I say a bit of a bully, a bully, and thinks he's top dog all the time, being mean to Tim. But we can see this fear and worry inside of them, and I think that's greatly done. And they don't kill anybody. Well, the boys don't. They just kill animated scarecrows to destroy. Of course, that doesn't mean the family doesn't kill people. They kill quite a few people, including the kind of tough-nosed headmaster. And eventually they have to retreat and get out of there with the family, then heading after Smith, Joan, and Martha. Tim also finds them at the Cartwright house where they hide. That's Lucy Cartwright's family's house. When the Cartwright family, obviously, apparently, the parents have obviously been killed by daughter of mine after she took Lucy's body. And so the house is now abandoned, so they have to hide there whilst the family attack the village. Anyway, so after all of that, John Smith has to make a final decision, and he has to decide whether he wants to stay as he is and just let the family destroy everything, or give them the Doctor's essence in the watch, or if he decides to sacrifice himself and become the Doctor once again. This is a really emotional ride. We actually got time to like John Smith over the course of these 2 episodes. He was a really great character, and we were invested with his romantic story with Joan. So what happens is that John Smith decides to give the Doctor's essence to the Family of Blood in order for them to stop attacking. However, it turns out to be a trick. The Doctor he's already become the Doctor again, and he just pretends that he's still Smith and tricks them into thinking he's still human. And then he then drops the ball and reveals he's now the Doctor again. And to be honest, these 2 episodes have probably got David Tennant's best performance in the show as John Smith. He does a fantastic job and is part of the reason why we love John Smith and we're invested in his role. The bit where he's also still pretending to be John Smith, but he's really the Doctor now, that's probably his best bit as the Doctor, as he's still pretending to be Smith, that it's still the Doctor underneath, and then once the ball's dropped, he's able to let it all out of me. Like, Oh, I tricked you. Sorry about that. Oh, by the way, you should not have let me touch all those buttons because he accidentally causes the ship to blow up. Or maybe he was intending to do that, actually. So he and the family have to get out. And then, as punishment for what they've done, the Doctor makes the family live forever, but not in the way they wanted. He chains the father up and leaves him somewhere. Can't quite remember. Who tricks the mother into falling into the heart of a dark star to be imprisoned for forever. The sister is trapped in every mirror. There's actually recently this story got live stream watch-alongs with fans, and Paul, as part of some of these ones, some of the writers and creators and actors and stuff do these little short things and stuff. So recently, Paul Cornell, for instance, wrote a prologue and an epilogue to Human Nature Family Blood, the TV story, the former tying in with the novel, actually, with Bernie Summerfield finding a mirror with Daughter of Mine in it, and the epilogue seeing the 13th Doctor deciding to let Lucy, Sister of Mine, out of the mirror, despite her not being sorry. But I guess the Doctor was just feeling merciful in her 13th incarnation. I mean, if the 7th Doctor can go around hiding stuff the 1st Doctor was supposed to do, the 13th Doctor can let people that her 10th incarnation imprisoned in mirrors out, even if they aren't entirely sorry. But, maybe the 13th Doctor is just feeling merciful this time around for this particular member of the family. You could probably put it down to, SJW wokeness. But first, we don't have such talk on this channel. It's banned. We're banned from people going, ew, SJW woke. You're banned. And it's either have proper criticism against certain decisions, or you don't. You don't turn into babies. And secondly, it's Paul Cornell's story. He can do whatever the hell he likes. He wrote the original novel, he wrote the TV story, and he's written an epilogue and afterthought for the live stream. So it's his story. He can do whatever the hell he likes. It's like Stephen Moffat adapting Blink from his short story, and if he wanted to do some little stuff around Blink, an epilogue and afterthought around that, he can do whatever he wants because that's his story. Chris Chibnall 42, Russell T Davies on the Series 3 finale, they can do whatever they want because it's their stories. It's not like Paul Cornell's changing something written by Toby Whithouse, for instance. It's not like that. Actually, can we have Paul Cornell back to write for Series 13 as well, please? He's overdue for a return. Anyway, back to the actual episode. Finally, Son of Mine is turned into a scarecrow, basically. He's suspended in time and made to become a scarecrow. At the end of it, the Doctor says goodbye to Joan. She declines an offer to come with him because he looks like John Smith, but he's not John Smith. But she keeps the Journal of Impossible Things. This is going to pop up again in a later episode as well. And the Doctor and Martha leave after saying goodbye to Tim, who gets to keep the watch. And these final scenes kind of had me pulling the heartstring with the goodbye to Joan, and even more so with the World War I stuff with Tim and Hutchinson in the war. By this point, we could say Tim's a bit more of a braver character than Hutchinson by this point. And the final scene of the Remembrance Day service, that was... Ooh, that was emotional. On the whole, Human Nature and the Family of Blood is a fantastic episode. Believe the hype, people. I mean, maybe I don't love it as much as lots of other people, but I still consider it a very strong story. I think it's brilliant. Characterization is great, and I love getting to know John Smith, getting to know Joan Redford and David Tennant, and I can't remember the actress, but she comes back again later on as another character kind of related to Joan Redfern. But she does a great job. She's wonderful. She's a great guest cast. The guest characters are also really great, with Latimer as well as Joan, the Family of Blood, and other supporting characters. They're all really great and some really great casting. This Family of Blood are also really interesting. Again, Son of Mine, like Lilith in the Shakespeare Code, seems to be the leader, despite not being the oldest or not being a parent. But again, probably because he went first, he was probably the one who has the most the kind of the leader. But yeah, some really great stuff, and some really great supporting characters and cast, and it's handled really well. Really great story, really emotional, and part 2 of the story, the 9th episode, is absolutely brilliant. Episode 8, of course, great setup, but episode 9 is a fantastic payoff. And the final act, final few scenes are just wow, especially those last few ones where it hits you hard, both on a character level for John Smith and just generally for the Remembrance Day and the war scenes. It's just an absolutely great story and wonderfully done. I also like the Scarecrows. I think that was a great addition by Paul Cornell. Great monster for the episode, and they do a really great walk, and they're just pretty great monsters. They don't do an awful lot, but they're fun to watch on screen. And overall, Human Nature and the Family of Blood is a emotional roller coaster of a story, a great historical setting, adventure, and just an outright brilliant story. And also gives Martha Jones a bit more stuff to do in this story as coming into her own when the doctor's not around. Although the line when she says, "You had to fall in love with a human and it wasn't me," I agree with Mr. TARDIS reviews in his first Five Who Fans guest video in 2013 when he was talking about Martha Jones, where he does think that was more of a Rose Tyler line. Was it that video? It was a video anyway. If it wasn't that one, I think it was though. But it does sound more of a Rose Tyler line, and some of the other lines in the story do feel like they've been written more for Rose rather than Martha. But nevertheless, Martha is still a fantastic character in the story, and she comes into her own. This story also kind of touches upon her skin color. Yikes! Ouch! Oh, we just got about away with it in Shakespeare code, but ow! Ugh! The mentions here stings. Ouch! Oh well, I mean, it's the times, I guess. Dr. Manhattan Evolution of Linux kind of ignored it, actually. But anyway, Human Nature, Family of Blood, fantastic story. I'm going to wrap this up with, I was considering whether I should give it a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. The final few scenes with the emotional edge, especially with the World War One stuff, tipped the balance in the favour of a 10. Not only that, but I now probably put it above Gridlock in the ranking now. So I'm going to be giving Human Nature and the Family of Blood a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, in the originally episodes, I think Human Nature would still be a 9, but Family of Blood would be a 10. But as an overall story, like Bad Wolf Parting in the Ways would be 9 and 10. The story is still 10 out of 10 overall. And yeah, I thought this one was just absolutely amazing. Next time, we're going to have something a bit different, a Dr. Light episode like Series 2, but this time done more favourable, I would say. People like it more. Next time, Sally Sparrow, played by Carey Mulligan, will be taking charge in Blink. So I'll see you guys next time for, like Human Nature and the Family of Blood, a classic new series Doctor Who adventure. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Excuse me. Okay, remember to jump 7 seconds. But this story was and the second series of in series 3. However, when the Doctor turned human, he did not factor love into his equations. He's apparently sees himself as, and at the same time, one of the pupils, Tim Latimer, and at the same time, Tim Latimer, and that's like referencing the Cyberman deleted scene at the end of Journey's End, saying that the Cyberman once got into the TARDIS. Not when I was in my 5th or 6th incarnations, when I was in my 10th incarnation. That's like saying the Cybermen. I'm actually half one, but it's not handled too well. No. So this week, if 2 noisy cars. And I think that is really great stuff, greatly done. What is going on? And I think that's greatly done. What are they doing? Sorry, this people were just outside just talking. So much for social distancing. Anyway, so, oh, I can't put up with this. Neighbours this time, not birds. I'm gonna go away. I'll open it again. Anyway, so I mean, if the Seventh Doctor can go around hiding stuff that the First Doctor forgot to leave behind, it's possible that but first we don't have that such stuff talk on the. Anyway, so back to it, and finally, I mean, maybe I don't like it as much as everybody else, but it's and the final acts are the final few scenes, and the final act, and some of the other lines in the story does feel more Rose Rose. But anyway, this time Sally Sparrow takes charge. I'll see you guys next time for a new series classic. Goodbye. I'll see you guys next time for, like this story, another new series. So I'll see you guys next. So while